Now we all know that if you want to play great golf, you're going to want to shallow that club out in the transition, get the club coming from the inside or in the slot, and that makes golf way easier. Well, I've put together 3 of my all-time best videos on helping you to shallow that club up, get it in the slot, and hit some great power draws out there and make golf a whole heck of a lot more fun. Let's go ahead and get started. Most players, when they try to hit a nice straight shot, will end up releasing the club, and it won't get vertical until about waist high in the follow through. Let me actually turn this way so you can see a little bit better. If I'm hitting toward the camera, most players visualize that that club face should be vertical or straight up and down when it's about waist high as I'm coming through here. If you want to hit a straight shot or you want to hit a little bit of a draw, it should actually be about like that. I know that sounds crazy, but that's the proper way to release a golf club. And you'll actually notice a lot of pros, as they're coming through and they hit this golf ball, the toe is already released around, closed past parallel when the club's about 45 degrees in front. So that toe is closing and it's releasing down. So what I want you to do to get rid of that slice, to start to finally hit that draw, is do a few practice swings where you make a little half practice swing, a full back swing, you pause when the club's 45 degrees in front. That would be a little bit of a fade, that vertical face. When I pause, this club's swinging 45 degrees in front again, I'm gonna go ahead and rotate it a little bit more. That would be a power draw there. That would really be turning over from right to left when I'm doing this. So this is a little bit of a straight shot. This is a fade. That's a nice power draw. So if you're struggling to hit that shot that slices a little too much, I want you to go ahead and really exaggerate hitting that power draw, really letting that release here. So once you get that in your swing for 4 or 5 times, little practice swings, step up to the golf ball. I don't want you to worry about anything else other than recreating that release point out in front, and that's going to make that ball a lot easier to get it to turn over from right to left. Let's give it a whirl here. There we go, really nice and straight. Just drew a hair back actually into the wind, so really good shot there. Now, piece number 2 is a really simple one to work on the path. I like to fix the face first. I like you to go ahead and get that face turning on over, that face releasing like the pros should be doing. And then once you fix the face, then let's start to swing out to the right. I find that most players have the face way too open, like we talked about here, like that, never squaring up. As they come through contact, the face is open. So when you try to swing more to the right, that ball just goes way to the right and really weak. Let's get that face releasing. Hit in a couple of real good hard draws doing the first one. Once you've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about a 1.5 foot length, and I'm going to do it right down my target line here, and I'm going to set up a head cover about 1.5 foot behind the golf ball that would be on my target line. So if this is my target line, I don't have that lined up perfectly probably. I'm going toward that orange flag out there. That's my target line. I'm going to put the tip of the head cover right on that line. Then I'm going to go 1.5 foot in this direction, and I'm going to put the tip of my head cover right on that line there too. Now this doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but this just gives you a pretty good window now to where I want to swing to the inside of this head cover and I want to swing to the outside of that head cover. Now that's pretty exaggerated. I like to exaggerate it at first because I'd rather see you get rid of that slice and overdraw it than to keep battling the slice for a long time. So let's go ahead and tee another one up here. And I'm going to fill the same thing. I'm going to pair it up with the first filling. So now I'm going to get my body leaned a little bit more to the right. Big key here to be able to split this path. I want my hips to feel like they're closing a little bit, and I want to feel like my upper body is getting behind this golf ball. You'll see when I do that, that closes me to my target a little bit. And that makes it easier to swing from the inside. So I've got these 2 head covers as a visual. I'm swinging between those head covers. I've got my release point out in front, which I'm really letting it roll. So as soon as I feel like I'm throwing this club, it's going to release like that. And now with this setup, if you put both those 2 things together, you're really going to hit a power draw here. This thing is really going to start to move pretty nice from right to left. There we go, and that one was hit well. Nice draw, started right of the target, curved back left of the target, and that made it really easy. Now, those first 2 are going to make it easy. This last one is going to make it super, super easy. It's actually part of a drill that I have in what I call the move course. So if you're not familiar with the move course is going to teach you to shallow out this club, get it from the slot, and at the same time square up these wrists very well and early. So when I square up the wrist early, what happens is it closes the club face down. And if I square these wrists up early, it makes it so much easier now to come from the slot, to have great lag, to be nice and shallow. And this club is in a very strong position to where now when I release it, it's automatically going to want to turn over like we talked about with the pros. You almost can't stop it from turning over. If you just let the momentum of it go, you're always going to have that nice tight draw. What you want to do is follow a video that I have in there called the tennis racket drill. I'm going to give you the first piece of this drill, but you'll want to go through that whole course to get the full thing. Now, when you come halfway into your downswing, I don't want this toe to be vertical. That will be vertical straight up and down. I want that toe to be turned down a little bit. And when you do that, that actually bows the left wrist. And if I have my right hand on there, that cups my right hand, has it kind of bend back toward the knuckles. So what I want you to do is to go halfway down, pause there, and give me 4 or 5 rotations of that club. And that's what you feel like you're doing in the golf swing. As I'm swinging through the contact, I'm doing this. I'm releasing that face. That's what gets the toe to turn down like the pros that we talked about. That's what allows you to swing from the inside and know that golf ball is coming back from right to left. Now, if you've been really sick and tired of, you've tried all the drills out and you just can't keep from coming down a little bit steep, a little bit right to left or over the top, well, I have a great drill that I'm going to break down for you that really helps you to get this feeling of coming from the inside. It actually makes it where it's daggone near impossible to not get the right feeling from coming from the inside. It's also going to tell you how to properly rotate your body open. So if you find yourself kind of standing up and flipping at it, your hips aren't opening, you're losing your posture, it's going to be fantastic for that too. Let's jump right in. I can't wait to show it to you. Now here's a great drill I have where you can just grab a golf club, and what you're going to do is you're going to set up to the golf ball, an imaginary golf ball here. You're not going to be hitting this one at first. So I'm going to take my stance, and then I'm going to put a club straight up and down in line with my right foot. Now from here, I'm going to take my left arm, keep it straight, and have it like this. Now, what golfers do that come from the inside is that they get their club rotating into this gap. So you kind of imagine this big gap here. If I was going to come over the top, I'd be kind of hitting into my hand. So I have this space from the inside that I'm going to rotate into. And when I rotate open, I'm actually going to keep my left shoulder in place. You'll see that when I come over the top, my left shoulder would be pulling back this way. I'm going to keep my left shoulder stable. That's going to force me to come from the inside and get the feeling of turning into my body. So when I do this properly, and there would be impact, you'll notice how my left shoulder or my left bicep kind of gets cinched into my left pec. So it's almost like I'm turning my body into this left arm. So I'm coming from the inside, it forces me. There's really no way to come over the top unless you let this shoulder move out of the way. So as long as I keep this shoulder still, I'm going to rotate into my left arm. I'm going to be coming down from the slot. Now there's another great thing that this drill helps with. So when I'm coming over the top, what's going to happen is I'm going to tend to slide in front of this. So if you imagine there's a vertical line coming up from the center of my ankle, or let's actually imagine a big wall here from the outside of my ankle. Well, if you're coming over the top, if you're getting steep, a lot of times what will be happening is you're sliding forward and your body's going to bust through that wall. Well, when I put this club here and I keep my arm still, I rotate into it, now all of a sudden it keeps my head behind the golf ball. And that is so important. When your head's behind the golf ball, you can get from the inside, you can have the club come in from the slot, and man, it makes it so much easier to do all these things that we're talking about, even to stay in your posture a little bit better. Now, when I slide forward, my spine angle, instead of being a little tilted back, my head behind the ball, tends to get a little tilted forward like that. I chop down into it. In fact, I measured 50 major winners on the PGA Tour from past and present. And I found that the average angle of their spine at impact was about 20 degrees tilted away from the target when they're coming into contact. Now, most golfers that I see, their spine angle is almost vertical. So again, as long as I have my left arm still here and I rotate into it, it forces me to stay behind the golf ball. If I shift forward, now all of a sudden my left arm moves, and you'll notice that right away because this club will kick forward. If this club doesn't move, I can rotate into impact and I'm going to be in a great position to deliver the ball really square like the pros do. Now there is one mistake that I see with this. A lot of times when players do this drill, they simply go like this and they just move their arm. You notice how my hips aren't moving, my chest isn't moving, nothing's really loading up or turning through. Now the key with this drill is as you're making your downswing, I'm starting it with my hips. So again, if you imagine my hips are here, my arm is there, I'm turning my hips into my arm. If I have my chest here, I'm turning my chest into this arm. So the arm stays still and my body rotates into it. You'll even notice as I do this that my right heel turns off the ground a little bit. You'll notice that my hips feel like they're rotating into that. My belt buckle is kind of facing toward my arm if I was looking at it here. And if I looked at my shirt buttons, it would be rotating to where I feel like I'm pressing my shirt buttons against my left arm also. That's getting you in a perfect position to really knock out all the big keys and to stay in your posture. If I'm standing up, then I'm not rotating and nothing's going into my arm. It's all just going forward this way. If I stay in my posture, I'm rotating through it. So really this drill is fantastic to solve almost any problem that you're going to have that we've addressed. Now when we're doing this, we talked a lot about how to get from the slot from the inside, how to rotate into that arm in the downswing. But again, if you don't load up, it doesn't make any difference. So if I'm just taking my arm and I'm just kind of flinging it back and then I rotate into my body, yeah, that'll get me in a great impact position, but I won't have any power at all. Now the key to this is when you rotate back, go ahead and feel like this right shoulder goes behind your left shoulder. Feel like you're just opening up the whole right side of your body, really letting this go back and around, and now you've really loaded up. If you need to, go ahead and let this leg straighten a little bit to help aid with that turn. Now, here's the cool part. Now that I'm really loaded up, I can hit the heck out of this golf ball and be in a great impact position from this drill that we worked on here today. When you put those two things together, that's when you're gonna have the consistency from the technique and the fundamentals that we talked about with this drill and the power that you have from really loading up. I've got an awesome video that's gonna help cure your slice. Now, I got my son one of these little Gator electric cars, and I had the box laying around after I was setting it up, and I realized, man, this could be an awesome training aid. It's a fantastic visual for what everybody's mistake is if you're having a little bit of a slice. So if you start to come down steep or over the top, you're gonna whack so hard into this box, and having this huge box in the way, just a visual object here, makes it so much easier to visualize how I'm gonna come from the inside as I'm hitting this golf ball. So what I've done is I've set up a little blueprint for how you can recreate this exact same thing at your house. If you have a big box like this, that's fantastic. If you don't have a big box, you can get away with putting a pull noodle where this line would be, this corner right here. So if you stick a alignment stick down the ground, put a pull noodle over it, it'll work exactly the same as this. Just get something soft that's not going to hurt you or your club if you accidentally hit into it. Now, what I did is I took a piece of tape going down the target line from the corner of this box, and I went 2 grip widths forward. That's how I got to the end of this blue tape. Now from there, I'm going to start out where I can fit an entire club head and a little extra, maybe a 1/2 inch extra when I do the ball placement. And what I want to do here is I'm going to set the ball there, and I have to figure out a way to come into and hit this golf ball fairly hard from the inside. And if I do that, my club path is going to be way inside out. So in order to make this happen, I have to get way from the inside here. As I open up, miss this box, I'm swinging out to the right and really releasing it. Now, my flight scope tends to show the golf ball taking off, but it's not, the numbers aren't quite right. This box is messing it up. But let's go ahead and start one out. Now, immediately what I realize I have to do is as I bend forward, I have to get my body kind of tilted this way. So my hips are actually going to go forward a little bit, and they bump to where my belt buckle, instead of being facing like this, my belt buckle is facing like that. It's facing back slightly. So my hips are a little closed. My shoulders are going to do the same thing. And that kind of clears a path to where I can swing back to the inside. Now I know it's not perfect that, we normally want to take the club back where it would hit this box. That's okay. This is an exaggeration drill. We'll gradually work off this as I'll go through here in a minute. So my hips bump, my shoulders bump, and from there, I'll notice how my right elbow is way lower than my left elbow if I'm looking from down the line here. Now I'm going to start out hitting little 10 and 15 foot, just little chips, pitches. Some of these may register, some of them may not. Don't worry about any of this stuff with the flight scope radar right now. But I'm just going to put that golf ball a little more than a club head width there. And I also notice that I have to get my weight shifting to the left, which means that my divot is going to be in front of this golf ball. Now this is big. If you tend to come over the top, most of the time your weight is shifting onto this right foot in the downswing and hitting that box. I have to get my weight shift to the left because you'll notice when my weight is to my right, look how the distance between me and this box is much smaller. When my weight is shifted to the left, now I've got more space. There's a lot more room here between my body and the box, and that clears out more room in here for me to swing from the inside. So if you're not able to swing from the inside, it could be your weight shift just as much as it is you being steep or over the top. So let's go ahead and get my weight a little bit more left. I feel like I create, when I start my weight shift to start my downswing, so let's say I'm here, I feel like I'm getting farther from this box as I'm doing that to create some more room. So I'm going to go really slow. Notice how I do that. So I'm going back, I'm creating more room, and then I'm swinging out to the right big time. Again, we would be hitting these shots 20 or 30 degrees to the right for now, just because our swing path is so far in that direction. Now, as we get a few more reps of this and you can consistently hit the ball over in that direction, now we need to close the face. So I've angled my body and my hips, I've tucked my elbow, and I've got my weight shift to the left, so I've got all this room in here. Now, I don't want to just block shots off to the right. I'm going to go ahead and release the club face. So instead of holding it open like this to where the club face is just going open the whole way, I'm going to release the club face on over to where now my grooves of my club, this is a sand wedge here, are pointing straight down to the ground. So let's do a few more practice swings where you can see it from this camera. A little bit of tilt inside, right arm under, and then from there, I'm going to release my forearms until they actually touch each other. And now the club face is pointing down to the ground. So this would be a good way here. Big inside out path, club face touching, or the club face pointing to the ground. This would be the wrong way. Getting an inside out path and the club face pointing up toward the sky. So we're taking it from here, we're rolling it all the way over to there. That's going to get that club face to release, and now we can hit a draw as we're doing that. Now you'll notice that when I'm swinging to the right, my club face isn't going to be pointing toward the target. It's going to be pointing over here somewhere. You may not even be able to see that with this box. It's going to be pointing toward the kind of corner of that simulator. That's completely fine. That's what you want. You want those arms kind of flying away from you rather than getting that chicken wing type action. So I'm releasing it on out to the right, and I get used to letting that hand turn on over. I don't want to feel like I'm guiding the face at all. I'm going ahead and letting it release as I do that. So I'm going to keep on doing these little 10, 15 yard shots, and I'm going to keep working on closing that face more and more.
Is there some
Siri's talking to me. I'm going to close that face more and more until this golf ball starts hitting what would be straight ahead. So if you see this stripe here, I'm going to swing out to the right like I have been, but I'm going to close the face enough to where this club and the ball start hitting this stripe. So let me show you what I mean. If I release this enough, no matter how far from the inside I come, if that face closes down, that ball is going to hit that middle stripe. So let's try that out here for a second. So swing way to the right. There, I even got it to go left to the stripe. That's a great exaggeration. So number one, swing right. Number two, get that face to release until you start seeing shots like this. They start left and they go even farther left. With this box in the way, you can't cheat this drill. As long as you set up the ball where you're supposed to, this is going to be the perfect little drill for you. So I'm going to do a few more of these, and I'm really turning that club face on over. There we go, perfect one. Now, again, my radar isn't reading this right. That would have been a huge snap hook. Let me go ahead and move this box so my radar can read it now. And I'm going to take a normal iron, maybe like a 6-iron, 7-iron, somewhere around in there. And I'm going to hit the exact same shot that we've been working on. And you're going to see this is going to be a huge snap hook. So let's go ahead and try it out. So tilt my body, arm under, and I'm just going to release the heck out of it. There we go. That thing's really curving like that. That's exactly what you want. That is perfect. Hit about 10 or 15 of those, and now we're ready to start toning this down into being a baby draw. Here's how you do that. Let's get the box back again. Let's go back to our wedge, and let's figure out how to hit a perfectly straight shot. So instead of taking this golf ball now and having it more than a club head width outside of this blue line, I'm gradually going to start getting it more and more and more closer to that blue line until I'm about right here. And that's about where you want your actual swing to be. So if I can miss this box in here and come and hit that golf ball, that's going to be a pretty daggone dead straight shot. Let's try that out. I may have my radar lined up a little bit longer, maybe reading it wrong because of the box. That one should be pretty straight. Let me try to move this box so it'll read it a little better. So it sends out little radar waves and they don't shoot through that box great. But as soon as I get this ball position here and I do what would be missing that box, you can see that's a pretty daggone nice straight shot. Nice little tight draw to it. And as I get more and more comfortable with that, then I just have to go to gradually longer and longer clubs, fuller and fuller swings. But I get the feel first with the box, and then I recreate that with a more full swing. So let's go ahead and try a 6-iron out here now. They just overdrawn that one a hair, but that's fantastic. After working on those draws, you may even have a few that overdraw on you, that you feel like turn over a little bit too much. You can back off of it just a little bit more. I find it's easy for players to straighten it out just by feeling like they hit a little bit of a straighter shot or even a fade, and they get rid of those draws. The biggest problem for players that tend to slice, if you struggle with it for a long time, is never having the feeling of really getting it inside and releasing, and this box forces that. Now, there's still one problem. A lot of players think that they need to square the club face up by rolling those forearms over each other, and that will throw a wrench in everything that we've done here. And it's actually not the right way to square the club face. The pros are doing a lot different than that. It's what I call the anti-roll method. Now I'm going to play a preview of one of my best videos showing you the anti-roll method. All you need to do is go ahead and click the card that pops up on your screen, or if you go down to below to the link in the description, you'll get instant access to it there. I'll show you how this rolling the forearms over to square the club face can sabotage everything we've done here today. And if you get this right, it opens up a whole new world. You feel like golf is easy. You feel like hitting these draws is second nature. That's what I recommend doing after this video. So this is part 1. Click the card now to go to part 2, and let's go ahead and bring this thing home so you can become the golfer that you've always dreamed of being. Let's go ahead and get started. So here's the bottom line. If you've been taught to roll the club in the early downswing, that causes the shaft to get steep, and that steep club causes all your problems. It causes you to hit it way behind the big hitters and way inconsistent with your quality of strikes. So you're in the tall grass and the trees and the hazards all day long. Now the great news is this. There's really only 2 pieces that you need to know to fix all these problems. The first one is we need to learn the proper way to square up the club face. Instead of rolling the forearms and getting steep, there's another way that the pros do this. Once you learn this right way to square up the club face, then you can shallow out from the inside and everything starts to fit together. Now I'm going to teach you this right now in what I call the anti-roll method. You may also hear this called the motorcycle move or the tour twist, but let's walk through exactly how to do that. Now what I want you to do is go ahead and go kind of in the last parallel in the downswing. So here I want my hips to go ahead and be opening up. I want my club to be parallel with the ground, and I want my hands to be in front of my right thigh. Now when I take my grip, you're going to notice that when I do this, the club face is basically straight up and down. So if I'm looking at it from this angle, you'll see the face is straight up and down, and my logo of my glove is pointed out in front of me. Now from there,